they must. They must come to see the show because it's it it's a show that will make them think, will make them laugh, will make them uh, interested in in it, starting a conversation about the many things that we approach on stage. And yeah, if they hopefully they will be very entertained. It's a fun play to watch and definitely a fun play to perform. So they must come to see this show. It's gonna be a life-changing experience. Now it's gonna be a good show.
I do think that this is a must-see play. This work looks at the the movement behind Me Too. It looks at the wave of feminism that we're experiencing right now. It looks at women's rights. It looks at gender equality. I think it looks at race as well. It is so pertinent to what is happening all over the world, but especially in the United States right now. Of I think that we're seeing a movement of definitely when we're looking at a case of an accusation, an accusation of sexual misconduct, which is what this play deals with. We are definitely moving into a moment where people are taking the side of the victim. And there's also backlash from another side of what if the victim is lying? What if they're making this up? And I think that this play takes both of those sides and looks at them head on in a way that is crazy to me that 3 decades after this play was written, we're having the same exact conversation. I am astounded that it is still incredibly timely and incredibly relevant. And I think if you want to look into one side or the other's head over, well, how could they possibly be victim blaming? Or how could they possibly think that this person isn't making this up? I think that our play does a great job at looking into the heads of both sides of that and saying, what if both sides are right?
People should go to this play at the Hollywood Fringe Festival because it's a chance to experience David Mamet. It's a chance to experience two first class players doing first class work. And it's a chance to sit down and be challenged rather than just entertained. That's an interesting story. I saw the play when it was first produced. I was at Harvard University. I was a artist in residence there, and David Mamet was directing his new play, Oleanna. This was like the early 90s. And so, I went down to catch it, and it was infuriating. Me Too hadn't happened yet. A lot of things hadn't happened yet. I think that the world was different at that time. So I was infuriated by the idea of this professor being brought down by a kind of a revolutionary new view of the world. And Mamet directed it very much in favor of the plight of the professor, and I bought into it. It was interesting. It caught my interest. Plus I loved the language of it, and so I went and saw it a couple of times with Bill Macy, and I think it was Rebecca Pidgeon in the show, and I was intrigued. Then a few years later, I was asked to play the role of the professor, John, opposite the wonderful young actress named Ariel Zevon, the daughter of the great rock star Warren Zevon. And we did it at Third Street Theater and got a lot of good notices. And I was still interested in the idea of this professor going along with his life and somehow being pulled down. And because I was playing the role, of course, I was very much in favor of the professor. But I began to hear, I mean, Ariel's a wonderful, wonderful actress. And I began to see that character's side of it, because Ariel, so sensitive, so powerful in her interpretation, really started to sway me and started to make me question the position and the privileges that this professor enjoyed, just conferred upon him because of who he was and his gender and his upbringing. But by the time we closed that, I was sort of done with the piece. I wanted nothing to do with it anymore. It was done. I thought I'd gotten everything I could out of it. Then I started teaching. Many years later, I started teaching. My students started bringing the play, scenes from the play, to me to work on in studio. And by that time, Me Too had happened. By that time, perspectives had changed. By that time, I had been educated more about the ideas of gender, what's the word I'm looking for? The disparities in privilege between genders, the patriarchy, Me Too. And as my students were playing the piece for me and, with me, I began hearing lines that I should have known, but felt that I hadn't heard before. And I realized that 30 years down the line, the play had remained the same, but my perspective had changed. And two students of mine were having a tremendous amount of success in the way that they were going through the play, the way they were reading it, the way they were seeing it. And I said, well, let's do this. Let's take it all the way. And I should say former students, because the student-teacher relationship had pretty much come to its end, and so we became colleagues. And I said, okay, let's mount this. Let's do it. Fringe Festival's coming up. The timing was just right. That decision came just at the right time to start putting together a creative team, and we just did it. It just happened. Fundraising went smoothly. And now we're in the throes. We're at the point now. We're on our feet. We're in the theater space. We're putting the finish on it, and we have a new perspective, a perspective that wasn't there before. Basically, it's this. Back in the 90s, the dramatic question for this play was, what happens if two sides of an argument are wrong? And now today, after so much time and so much upheaval in society, the real dramatic question of this play is, what happens if two sides of an argument are right? And that's a much more explosive question, and it makes for a lot of conflict and a lot of fireworks in this play.
The way that this particular production came about was actually really unique. I met our director, Miguel Perez, through the Art of Acting Studio. He was one of my first acting teachers, and he really kind of cracked open my shell. I think that we grew a lot together, and I grew so much under his tutelage. I really became, honestly, the artist that I am today thanks to him. And the conservatory program is a 2.5-year program. So towards the end of my training, the last semester, Miguel approached me and said, I do some acting coaching on the side, and there's this actor, Jean-Michel, and he wants to work on a scene to be coached on. And I want to work on the scene from Oleanna. Would you be his scene partner? And jumped at the opportunity to work with Miguel again. And over the process of maybe 3 or 4 sessions that we had with Miguel giving Jean-Michel some acting coaching, first of all, he's so generous. He was giving me a lot of training and invaluable information during our sessions then. But the chemistry that Jean-Michel and I had was just absolutely amazing. We got along so well as people, and as actors, I think that we both have a lot of mutual respect for each other, and he is just so generous and gracious to work with. He gives me so much to play with every time. And so we did a couple of acting sessions, and about a month or two later, Miguel approached me and said, I really want to develop this for Fringe. And so does Jean-Michel, but we're not going to do it unless you're on board because you are our top pick. And it just felt like such a full circle moment for me to have this dream of moving out to LA to become an actor. And here I am getting to work with a very established actor and a very established director that I really respect and honor, and I treasure their opinion. And it was very flattering to get the offer to work on this project.
How did it come about? It came about a meeting with Claire and Miguel, two wonderful people. So first, it was the meeting these two wonderful individuals, and see how that it really clicked. Something clicked, and then the play itself. Gosh, I mean, I knew about the play. I've never seen it performed, but reading it again, or reading it for the first time, uh, oh my gosh, it's so current. It's so current, even though it was written in 91, 92, I think. It feels more necessary than ever with what we're going through with, cancel culture and the Me Too movement. And to me, it really rings true on a daily basis when I open the newspaper. So that was an important play for me to do. Besides the fact that I'm enjoying it tremendously on stage with Claire, who's wonderful, and Miguel, who's also such a terrific director, so kind and so nurturing. Yeah, I think people will enjoy this play. It's an unusual play. The play starts between a college professor, me, and his female student, and she comes to see him because she has questions about her test, and we find out that she's not doing so well in the class, and so my character is trying to help her, and but he's got issues on his own because he's trying to buy a house. He's on a tenure track. This house, he's got a family, child. It's very important to him. So his mind is somewhere else, and this student comes, and we all both anxious of the future. She really is, and I am as well. So our priorities are different. We try to communicate, but we don't really communicate, and this miscommunication starts a cycle of doom. Really, my character makes mistakes, and good-hearted mistake, but mistakes nonetheless.
So the beginning arc of this play is I am a college student, and I come into my professor's office because I'm having some trouble with a class and just understanding in general what he's talking about in class. And through the course of the first act, and thus the first half of the play, we are trying to get started with this conversation, but we keep getting interrupted. One of us will get distracted or go off on a tangent. He keeps getting phone calls from his realtor or his lawyer or his wife because they're in the process of buying a new home and he's up for tenure. And so there's a lot on his mind, and there's a lot on my mind concerning, am I going to pass this class? I need my professor's help. Is he, what is my grade going to look like in this class? And there's just a lot of starting and stopping and miscommunication or lack of communication. We're talking over each other a lot. And this lack of communication or these words or phrases or gestures that both of us make get interpreted by the other person in completely different ways than I think what the intention is. And something we've talked a lot with our director about is what is the intention versus what is the impact. And that comes to a head through the course of the play of what is my intention with this character, and then the impact is completely different and completely unprecedented from what I meant it to be. So the playwright, David Mamet, is a very interesting character. And this play is very much an interesting deviation from what Mamet usually writes. He writes a lot of male characters, a lot of masculine heavy shows, and I think that his content is very, very dark, very serious matters. I think that his characters tend to be really fast paced when they talk, and their ideas they're very, very intelligent. And I think that he can have some misogynist leaning views sometimes in his work, and that comes through in a lot of his plays. And to be honest, when I first read this play, it came through as very anti-woman, anti-feminist. But working with Miguel and his vision for this show has totally made me reread the play in a new light, and has made me recognize that there is a lot of actually feminist talking points that he's making and coming out in support of the woman, whether that was intentional or not, who's to say. But I think that Mamet does such a beautiful job of making all of his characters very well spoken and very intelligent, that I guess just a causeway of that is this character comes off like she knows what she's talking about, because she does, and she makes some really strong moral points, and she has really strong footing on her moral ground, which as an actor is such a gift to play with, and makes me really excited to get to work on this text specifically and maybe give people a new interpretation that they hadn't thought of when they think of David Mamet or when they think of Oleanna.
Lucky me, all of my first choices for this creative team were available at the moment that I needed them, which is very rare. I needed someone to help hold my hand through the producing process, because I've never produced a play before. I've directed a few times, and I've played in many plays, but I've never really taken on the producing duties. And so my old friend Darcy Lee, the classiest, most marvelous producer, we were talking on the phone. I mentioned I want to do this. She says, well, you need some help. I said, yes. Darcy and I go back to when we were both acting in Cyrano de Bergerac at a brave little theater in Pasadena called the Knightsbridge Theater. I played Cyrano, she played Roxanne, and the play kept getting extended and extended and extended, because it's just a wonderful story. And every night I was saying all these beautiful, loving, adoring things to Darcy, and I fell madly in love with her. But it was, this platonic adoration that continues to this day. But she's been just my rock in terms of the production side. My old friend Anita Lee, Cooker and Lee publicists, they arranged this moment here. And once again, that's a relationship that goes back to the 1980s in Jersey City, when Anita and her then husband and me and my then wife were neighbors, and our children were born about the same time, and we took turns babysitting. This my cast, this cast. Oh my gosh, Claire Wagner, who had been a student of mine at the Art of Acting Conservatory, such so mature and so clever for such for an actor still at the early parts of her journey, but she's so, I don't even know how to explain it. She's like this prodigy. She's able to come up with ideas that someone of her years shouldn't be having. She's very, even though she's in her 20s, she's 150 years old. You know, just a wonderful player to work with. And then Jean-Michel Richaud, who came to me through my association with wonderful voiceover director and theater director too, Sergine Dumais from Montreal. Jean-Michel is he's an actor manager in his own right. He tours Leonard Nimoy's play all over the country, and we were doing a workshop together with Claire, and he had just enough time in his schedule open to do this play. So here we go, and then so many of my former students have stepped up and said, "No, can we help with this? Can we help with that?" I have several of them, Ahash Francis and Anya and Lola Darzens from Paris. They just want to see, how can we help out? They've been consulting and helping out with script, with holding the script, prompting, helping me move furniture. It's a team that came together in the most natural of ways. It's a team of people who all see the world in a similar way, and who all, lucky me, trust the way that I see this story, and want to help me to bring that to fruition, and at the same time bring their wonderful and unique visions to the story as well. And all of that has just served to make the whole so much greater than the sum of the parts.
I'd like the audience to come out excited. I'd like them to come out arguing. I'd love to have some fun, hearted conversations on the way home, in the car, that the play will stay with them, and whether or not because they'll pick a side. It's a play where you have to pick a side somehow, even though you can agree on both sides, but you tend to lean one way, so that always creates dialogue and conversation, and we live in such a polarized world that it feels like we are lacking communication, in many ways, politically at least, culturally, for sure. And so if we can start conversation at any level, that's always a good thing. And if we get entertained in the process, yay.
I hope that our audience walks away with a greater understanding of how one event can be interpreted in completely different ways based on the spectator's race or class or sex or age. All of these pre-existing factors and conditions influence the way that we perceive an event, either one that we were directly involved in or something that we witnessed. So my experience from witnessing an event is going to be different from yours, is going to be different from the person sitting next to me. And I think our goal in this play is to have people walking away not necessarily saying that my character and my co-star's character, not necessarily saying that they're both wrong, but actually both of them are right and they both make a really strong argument. And if the audience leans more one way or another, is that their past experience speaking, and are they able to see the other person's side?
I thought a lot about about what I want to leave the audience with when they're finished seeing the way we tell this story and hearing the way they tell this story. And my hope is that when that final shocking moment is complete, my hope is that the audience will be left feeling upset and feeling an emotional and societal void that they need to help to fill. My hope is that they'll leave feeling disturbed and anxious to do something about the way we conduct ourselves in our society.
I think what I'm looking for every time I'm on stage is try to stay true to the author, to stay true to the story, and stay true to myself with the person on stage. Yeah, it's always a different journey, but yeah, I'm trying to stay true to the given circumstances of the play. Yeah, and Mr. Mamet not come on stage and say, "What? What have you done to my show?" No. Yeah, I'm always trying to find the truth of it, the truth seeker.
When we are performing this live, I am hoping for some sort of visceral reaction from the audience. I hope that we are able to get somebody to stand to their feet in defense of one character or the other character. I've read reviews in the past of that happening during this play in earlier productions back in the 90s when it was first being produced. And as soon as I read that, I was like, wow, that's what this show means to me. This show feels so visceral for me that I hope that we can evoke that kind of reaction from somebody, because I do think that although this was a play that was written, a couple decades ago, it still has such a pressing story that you could be literally moved to your feet by how passionate you are about the subject matter.
To tell you the truth, when I direct, I generally don't watch performances past opening night. But on opening night, what I do look for is I look for an opportunity to sit back and see the play as an audience member rather than as the director who's tried to engineer this thing. I just look for how it unfolds as it is. Every performance is a unique thing, and I look to be surprised by the things that we never planned. They happen in every performance, and sometimes they're magical, wonderful things. Other times they're things that, oh, geez, they really coped with that well. But now, once I'm done with my part of the job, I'm just looking to be delighted by what the players bring to the moment. And those moments, that's exciting.
They should come to see. People should come to the Fringe to, well, first of all, to be part of the community. We're going back to the community. Sorry, to this community concept after the pandemic. Support artists, but to be entertained, to be get out of the house and have a really good time, whether it is to see our very serious show in intellectual, whatever it is, but or see a stand up or a comedy. There's some really good shows out there. You know, the office hours, evenings. We exchange our ideas and each other's shows, and there are really good shows out there. So yeah, please come out, see some good theater.
Hollywood Fringe Festival is amazing. I would recommend making a couple days or a couple weekends out of it because, first of all, the way that it's organized, you can stand to see, I think, maybe 3 or 4 shows in one day, which I cannot think of another theatrical hotspot or location where you can do that. Like, you can't go to Broadway and see 3 or 4 shows in one day. It is an amazing experience. You get to meet and network with local artists, and the variety of fringe shows is insane. I mean, you could go see our play in the afternoon, Oleanna, a very timely drama um, about gender and the accusations around sexual misconduct. And then you could go see uh, as one of the shows that I've been talking to, Feel Your Feet, which is a musical improv show. And then in the night, you could go see this other show, Bugs. It's a sketch comedy all based around bugs, and they have somebody playing David Attenborough to host. And then you could go see another show, which is it's an Edgar Allan Poe based show, and it's a little bit of dark humor, a little bit of drama, a little bit of comedy. That is such an amazing array of different shows all in the same day that I think is a great way to balance out. Maybe you see something heavier a little bit earlier in the day, and so you need something lighter to tone it down. And what a great way to network with a bunch of working Los Angeles artists.
The Hollywood Fringe Festival is a must see for people, for anyone who lives here in, for anyone, period. Because it's this smorgasbord of theater experience. There's plays that will make you laugh. There's little performance pieces that will make you cry. There's such a depth of talent in writing, playing, directing, designing, and I mean it's an opportunity to just dive into the deep end of creative theater endeavor and swim to your heart's content. I love it because every time I've gone to the Fringe, I've seen something that I never expected to see. I was introduced to some ideas and some comic ideas that I never had encountered before, and I never have come away anything but delighted and enthused, and it always gets my theatrical juices flowing, and I start to get creative again just from the experience of witnessing and diving into all of that wonderful creativity. So go see the Fringe Festival. Just go, just show up. Throughout history, artists, in order to make art, they needed somebody to feed the muse. Whether it was Shakespeare and his patrons, or Picasso, Michelangelo, you name it. There's this artists need someone or some group to to pay the bills so that the art can get made. And it's no different. It's no different for me or for any of the creative team that we formed. One of the first things that we did was set up a GoFundMe campaign. And basically the theme of the GoFundMe campaign is help us to tell an important story. And basically, we just sent out the word to all of our colleagues, all of our friends, everyone, that we're trying to do something important, and that any amount of help is accepted with deep gratitude. The GoFundMe campaign is still up, and if anyone would like to be a theater angel, all you have to do is send $1, send $5. Anything is accepted, and anything is something that we're grateful for. Even if what some of the folks who donated to us weren't able to donate money, but what they did donate was taking some time to tell their friends about the play and to encourage them to donate. Even that time, even that desire is a donation of tremendous value to us. And as I've said to many of the folks who have underwritten our efforts, $1 donated to the arts is a vote for a better world. And we're pure in our intentions. We're trying to do something worthwhile. And I think that the folks who've donated, and that all of you, you know who you are, I'm so grateful, because they've really come through for us in a big way. And we're waiting for you with open arms if you would like to come and join that group of facilitators. I like that better than donors, facilitators. Because there's going to be other projects down the line. This creative team is more than just lightning in a bottle. I think we have more stories to tell down the line.
Hi, I'm Jean-Michel Richaud. I'm playing John in the play Oleanna at the Fringe Festival. We are playing at the Zephyr Theatre on Melrose. It's a show written by David Mamet, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, I wouldn't say important, but it is a very life-changing experience. It creates dialogue, creates drama, entertainment. I couldn't recommend this show more. It's an important work to go see with a wonderful team. See you at the theater.
Hey, my name is Claire Wagner, and I'm playing Carol in Oleanna by David Mamet at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Come see us at the Zephyr Theatre on Melrose Avenue. It is a wonderful and timely play that looks at gender, race, class, sex, all of the things that are timely and all of the things that we're talking about today here in the United States. It is a beautifully written play. It is amazing to get to work with this director and my fellow actor on this play, and we would love if you come out and support us, because it is such an important story that needs to be told today, and you will be having a conversation as you walk out the theater with your other audience members. So come see us and let's start this conversation.
My name is Miguel Perez. I'm lucky enough to have a team around me that all believes that that the story of Oleanna by David Mamet is a story you need to hear. And I would encourage you to come down to the Hollywood Fringe Festival. We open June 3rd and run throughout the month of June. And sit down and listen to us tell this story for you. You will not be disappointed. You may end up feeling kind of angry, but you won't forget the evening you spent with us. I promise you that. We won't waste your time.